Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newly revamped Next Game, New Game podcast, formerly known as the Football Friday podcast. Same guys, talking football, just a little bit different format. We'll talk about that in just one sec. Matt Catrillo here with you, along with Alex Pizzora this week. And Alex, we're changing some things up with the show. We're kind of dumping out the analysis and things like that. And we have revamped the podcast to one of our favorite segments, Next Game, New Game, where we're just going to give you our picks from each and every week to get you ready for each and every NFL Sunday, getting ready for Week 6 this week. Alex, how's it going?
I'm good, Matt. Good to be back. Sorry we had some time away, but a lot to cover.
Yes, absolutely, and I'm excited for where we're going to go with this newly informed podcast here, so we're going to jump right to it. And we'll still start with the Eagles and Steelers in our picks for this week. So let's start with the Eagles, Alex, who completely dominated the Arizona Cardinals 34-7 on Sunday, getting ready for their first primetime game of the year, Thursday Night Football in Carolina, taking on the 4-1 Panthers. So a really good matchup here on Thursday Night Football, Alex, for the second week in a row. I know we sometimes haven't had that. And what do you think about this Eagles team right now, who all of a sudden finds themselves as one of the best in the NFC and actually the best in the NFL, with just only one undefeated team left in the Kansas City Chiefs after that impressive win last week?
Yeah, they've certainly been impressive. I think it starts with Carson Wentz. He's really, exploding into his second year. He's got the weapons now. That was such an issue last year, was he didn't have the consistent, threat in the passing game. The running game's been able to be overcome, even with the injury to Darren Sproles, not having a clear-cut number one guy like Garrett Blunt's been better, and I guess he's kind of bounced back from, week 2, where he got, essentially benched. And the defense continues to play well, so you have to give credit to coaching. I love that coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball especially. I think it's a really strong group of guys, and obviously it starts with the quarterback play, and it goes from there.
So what do you think about their matchup this week with Carolina? Obviously, when you're looking at the Carolina's offense, Cam Newton had a little bit of a slow start, didn't play much in the preseason. He's starting to click a little bit here. An impressive win for the Panthers the last 2 weeks. They were in Detroit last week. They hung on there. They beat New England in Gillette Stadium. Obviously, we haven't seen a whole lot from Christian McCaffrey. Just got his first touchdown last week. We know what they bring defensively. So what are your thoughts on this game?
Carolina's been a lot better. Not perfect, but better. Obviously, I like what they do with McCaffrey, getting him out of the backfield. I think he's just a good of an asset as a receiver as he is a runner. And Jonathan Stewart's had a pretty good year so far. But I think it's fair to be confident in Philadelphia. I think they're a little more well-rounded. I think they have a little bit more in terms of the playmakers. I just worry about Carolina's secondary. It's a pretty green group. It was really bad last year with all the rookies that they brought in, but it's still not there this year. So I think the Eagles are going to continue to roll and win this one.
I agree, and I've been waiting to kind of have the Eagles kind of prove me wrong a little bit in some facets here, but a couple of things in this game that I look at that makes me confident that the Eagles can pull this off on Thursday night on the road, which is hard to do. But actually, when you look at the numbers this year, away teams are 4-1 so far in the first 5 Thursday night games. So I just throw that out there. I don't think it really necessarily affects this game, but the Eagles on third down, I think, speaks to me the loudest. 11 of 12 last week on third down, Carson Wentz was throwing the football. The Eagles scored 2 of their touchdowns on third and long last week. Both were 3rd and 11. And so I think that's big when you're going to try and win some of these tough games on the road against a pretty good opponent in the Carolina Panthers. And secondly, I go back to what the Denver Broncos did in Super Bowl 50 against the Panthers. I get different teams, different times, but just in terms of how you defend Cam Newton, the Eagles now have consistently gotten pressure on the quarterback with their front four. They may not necessarily get the sacks each and every week, but they get enough pressure where they can dictate the game a little bit, and they have been dominating the line of scrimmage the last 2 weeks, and I think they do that in this game against the Carolina offensive line. That's good, but it's not great, and I think they can do that. They get to Cam Newton and kind of hit him around a little bit, because when you do that, that's when he starts forcing things, making mistakes, and kind of starts to get reckless with the football. So I throw those couple of things in there. Plus, the Eagles are leading the league right now in ball control. I think that's key to keeping Carolina's offense off the field. You wear down that Carolina defense. And I think the Eagles can do that with LeGarrette Blount and attempting to run the football and establishing that. So I think the Eagles win a very close game, but I think they win it 24-23 in Carolina. So next we'll go to the Pittsburgh Steelers, Alex. And of course, boy, it's been rough, I would say, almost the last 2 or 3 weeks. embarrassing loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars at home, 30-9. Ben Roethlisberger throws a career-high 5 picks. And I think the biggest issue right now, Alex, is the locker room. And I know we've kind of talked about this on previous podcasts, on the Football Friday podcast, kind of talking about the bell and how that started with this contract situation and how that was they've been able to kind of shrug those things off and move on. But just more and more drama comes up with this team, and I think you're starting to see it really now affect them on the football field. Obviously, you saw Ben Roethlisberger's comments after the game. He kind of backs away from those today on his weekly appearance with Cook and Pony on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh. So I think they have to fix their locker room issues, I think, to move on, because it's not a talent issue, because the Steelers have more than enough talent to win football games, and they're still 3-2. It's not like they're 0-5 like a couple other teams are. So I think it's important to keep that in perspective. But this is still a big game in that the Steelers need to start showing signs of life, especially on the offensive side of the football. I don't know if they necessarily win this game just because I think Kansas City is a better team right now. But if the Steelers go out there and lay an egg again like they did last week on the road, then I think things can start getting really hairy. So I think that you're at a crossroads right now for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So your quick thoughts on that, Alex, and where this game lies in Kansas City this week.
Well, I mean, you're right that it's not strictly a talent issue, because on paper they still look as good as any team in the NFL. Has been remarkably healthy this year, so there's no excuses there. That hasn't hindered them at all. But I think we're just missing an execution scheme, kind of thing as well. I can't sit here and say that it's definitely the locker room. I really think it's the locker room. This happens to all 31 other teams. Maybe it's not as high profile as Pittsburgh, but you're going to have dust-ups. You're going to have disagreements. Every locker room has guys that aren't the best of friends and stuff like that. So, it's never been an issue in the past. Tomlin does a really good job of keeping the locker room together and, having that singular focus. So I honestly don't think that's really the key problem. I just think it's been when you're unsuccessful on third down, when you're unsuccessful in the red zone, when you turn the ball over at the clip the Steelers are, when you give the rushing yards that they do, when you miss tackles they do. I don't blame a Ben Roethlisberger interception on the Antonio Brown Gatorade thing. I don't know what the correlation there would be. I don't blame a poor run fit on whatever. I just blame it on the fact that it's a poor run fit. So I agree that there's obviously issues and Ben played terribly, and there's not a lot of bright spots, but I don't sit here and say that, this is clearly a locker room issue. The evidence for that, I think, just does not exist.
Well, I don't know. I just think when you constantly see guys kind of going back and forth a little bit here, and you see the results in the field, I think it's easy to point that. But definitely they're not executing, especially in the red zone, and they have to be able to obviously do that and be better on third down. Obviously, there were some play calling issues last week too that I know that you alluded to. So when you look at this game in particular with the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously slowing down Kareem Hunt's going to be the number one thing. On the road, you deal with that crowd noise. And the Steelers, as we saw last year in the playoffs, are capable of going in there and beating the Chiefs as they did last year. So I think defensively, Alex, they can have some success as long as they slow down Kareem Hunt, as we saw them do last time. Maybe that open things up offensively. But I think clearly if you're the Steelers here, it's going to be tough. But I think you try to give Le'Veon Bell some more touches this week.
Well, I mean, the thing we'll have to remember is that he got 25 touches last week. Yeah, he didn't carry the ball a ton. There's some context there that needs to be talked about. And to be clear, I think they should have run the ball more when the game was still close. But he did touch the ball 25 times. People act like he didn't get the football. He got it quite a bit. I mean, 35 total touches. They were really involved in the offense. But now I'll make my pick. I'm generally a little more on the pessimistic side, I guess, when it comes to the Steelers. And I've picked against them in other games this year. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. And I'm going to think really more with my heart than I'm thinking with my brain here, because I don't necessarily have a great logical reason to pick the Steelers in this game. But I'm going to pick them anyway, because they always seem to do better when they're complete underdogs, when they're counted out. Like you said, they won in Arrowhead last year. It's a tough place to play, but they've proven they can win there. And I just think it's got to change eventually. So Chiefs are a great team. You could arguably the best team in the league right now. Their record speaks to that. And they don't turn the football over. But I'm going to be a little irrational here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. You don't hear that come out of your mouth too often there. You're going to be irrational.
Yeah, I'll mix it up.
I am going to take Kansas City, but I think it will be a close game. I think you'll see the Steelers play a lot better than they did last week. I mean, can only go anywhere but up after last week. But I think the Chiefs are going to make a play defensively late, again, an interception or two on Roethlisberger. I think they win. I'm going to say 27-23 Chiefs. So next we'll go to the Dolphins and the Falcons. The Dolphins are able to sneak one against a Marcus Mariota-less Tennessee Titans team, but they still have their own issues offensively, especially with Jay Cutler, against the Falcons team that is coming off a lackluster loss to the Buffalo Bills 2 weeks ago at home. They had the bye week last week, and I think Atlanta bounces back, Alex. I think there's a lot of weapons still. I know Julio Jones has a little bit of injury issues. We'll see if he plays on Sunday, but regardless, this Falcons team is way too deep offensively when you're matching up against that Miami offense. I think Jay Cutler is kind of almost back to where he was in Chicago, which to me, I think it just explains where he is in his career right now. I think he's might even be done after this year. We'll see about Tannehill in the future here, but I like the Falcons too. I don't want to say dominate, but I think they win by 10 or 14 points in this game.
I'm with you. I think it could be a blowout just because how anemic the Dolphins offense has been. Devontae Parker has an ankle injury. It's not as bad as it was first feared, but his status could still, as of this recording at least, he could still definitely miss this week. Jay Cutler's been just a bore, both in body language and in play. The run game hasn't been strong enough. The secondary isn't good enough. Falcons at home, they're going to win big.
He can't even sell in the Wildcat. I mean, that's just as sad as it gets. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that play, but
I did see it.
He continues to amaze me in every facet, which even more amazes me that he was going to be in broadcasting, which you actually have to have a personality. But that's just my own personal beef with that. So next game, new game, Chicago Bears, fresh off the loss last night in Minnesota. Mitchell Trubisky's first start nearly comes in a win as they lose in the last seconds to the Minnesota Vikings 20-17 last night at Monday Night Football. They will take on the Baltimore Ravens on the road, a team that's also struggling offensively, a ton of injuries, but they get off a nice win in Oakland last week, facing a Raiders team that did not have Derek Carr, but nonetheless they able to go out on the West Coast and get the win. What's your vibe on this game, Alex?
I thought Trubisky last night, did some good things. I thought he held his own against Minnesota. He was able to, extend the play. They got him on the move on some of those moves where I thought he kind of did some of his best work. But having said that, Ravens defense is still really tough. They gave E.J. Manuel all he could handle last week, forced several turnovers. Had a fumble return for a touchdown off a Jared Cook fumble. And I think Trubisky's going to be in a similar situation. So I think Brandon Williams is going to be back or is back for Baltimore. They're a big nose tackle that'll help slow down the run game. They're an athletic group. They're a physical bunch. They're going to do things like contain. The Bears just have no one to throw to, and the Ravens still have an excellent secondary with Jimmy Smith and Eric Weddle, Tony Jefferson, Marlon Humphreys getting more playtime, Brandon Carr still kicking. So long story short, I think Baltimore's going to dominate defensively, and they're finding just enough of a groove on offense with Buck Allen, Alex Collins. They hit the deep ball to Mike Wallace last week. At home especially, they should be able to win this one, I think, by at least 2 scores.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on this one too, Alex. I thought Mitchell Trubisky was okay, not great, not bad, but just okay. He made some nice plays last night. He got lucky on the 1 touchdown pass that eventually tied the game. Then they had that crazy trick played for the 2-point conversion. But I think when you're on the road against a good defense like the Ravens are, it's just not a good formula for the Bears going down there in Trubisky's first road start. Though I did like some of the designs they did to try, like you said, get him out of the pocket, and I think that helped him get into a rhythm. And I expect them to try and do that again this week. But when you try and do that against an athletic defense like the Ravens are overall, I think that can bode for some problems and a couple of turnovers forced by the Ravens defense. So I'll take them as well at home very comfortably. Next game, new game, the Cleveland Browns on the road, still looking for their first win of the year against the Houston Texans, Alex, who suffered a lot of big injuries defensively. Merciless is now done for the year. Watt is done for the year. But they're facing a rookie quarterback in Deshaun Kaiser that's really beginning to struggle now. And some of the things that I saw on tape, Alex, out of college, that I saw at Notre Dame, they're really starting to become a factor now. Granted, he doesn't have a lot around him as we knew coming into the season, but you're seeing a lot of those same mistakes, and I still think that's very concerning for the Browns. What do you think about him in this game?
No, it's definitely concerning. And, obviously Hugh Jackson already won't really commit. Got benched last week for Kevin Hogan. Hogan actually did well. They probably have a better chance to win this game with Hogan if he starts. Less tape, more experience. Going to take care of the football a little better. Big thing with Kaiser's just been the situational football. Third down, red zone especially. I saw the stat. He has 4 interceptions in the red zone.
Yeah, 2 last week. It just can't happen.
Yeah, exactly. It just can't happen. So I'm not sure who the start is going to be as of this recording. We're doing a little bit earlier in the week than usual. I think regardless, even if it is Hogan, I'm still going to go with Houston. Yes, I know Merciless is done. I know J.J. Watt's done. But, Deshaun Watson's playing really, really well. He's taking care of the football first and foremost, even if it's not always pretty. His completion percentage is poor, but he's getting the job done. Lamar Miller's doing a better job in the run game. I think Watson and Hopkins are having good chemistry. So the Browns defense, I didn't think it could get as bad as it would be in the Jim O'Neill era. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago? But I think Greg Williams is a good defensive coordinator, but I don't know what he's doing schematically. So even though they get Myles Garrett back, I think Houston's done enough on offense. It's playing smarter football, and it's going to win this one.
It's interesting now with the Texans, Alex, and they were talking about this on NFL Live today on ESPN, where the last couple of seasons it's been Houston's defense that's been carrying a lowly offense that has been sometimes banged up and shorthanded. Now it's kind of flip-flopped a little bit where Houston's offense, now that they have a franchise quarterback in Deshaun Watson, that's going to have to maybe carry things now for a banged-up Houston defense, which still has some good playmakers, of course, Jadeveon Clowney, etc. But I think the one play you brought up is going to be an X factor now for Houston in their success now throughout the rest of the season. That's Lamar Miller, running back. If Houston can become a ball control type of team, but you still roll out Deshaun Watson, get him involved, and you get the passing game going down the field, then they can give their defense some breaks and kind of protect that a little bit. I think that starts this week against a struggling Browns team at home, so I think Houston gets it done this week too. Next game, new game, NFC North battle, a big one, especially for the Vikings after the win on Monday night against Chicago. They host the Green Bay Packers. Who knows what's going to happen under center for the Vikings as Sam Bradford got battered and bruised again, was benched last night for Case Keenum, who's, I'll tell you what, Alex, say what you want about Case Keenum. Of course, I've never been a fan of his, but he's really stepped up and played very well, and this is some of the best football I've ever seen him play in his entire career, and I got a feeling he's probably going to start Sunday, and I think he can play well, but obviously I don't think the Vikings will get this done just because, obviously, when you compare the quarterbacks here, we're obviously going with Aaron Rodgers. I love that Packers front seven, what they're doing, and how they were able to shut down Ezekiel Elliott last week. And obviously, we saw the touchdown at the end by Aaron Rodgers. Davante Adams, great to see him back after taking that big hit a couple of weeks ago against Chicago. So I like Green Bay to take care of business on the road.
Yeah, I do too. You're right. I agree. It's a good point about Case Keenum. I think he's exceeded most expectations, especially us, outside of the Minnesota fan base area. I think that secondary can still be strong. Xavier Rhodes is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I love Harrison Smith at safety. Andrew Sandeo's playing, really well, kind of flying under the radar. But just too many weapons for Green Bay to attack. They're going to be able to find matchups. The run game's found their footing. Aaron Jones, who what a find he's been. I think undrafted kid out of UTEP came in and put up 100 plus last week. So regardless of who's healthy, Ty Montgomery or whatever, I think they're still going to have that run game. But yeah, just bottom line, give me Aaron Rodgers versus Case Keenum. I think who's going to win most of the time. So Green Bay's going to be my pick as well.
Next game, new game, staying in the NFC North, Detroit Lions off the loss against the Panthers on the road against the New Orleans Saints, coming off a bye. Interesting game here, Alex, but I think Detroit gets it done because I think they'll make some plays defensively to slow down the Saints offense, and I really like what they have offensively. I think they're also pretty deep on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Detroit's just frustrating. They look like a different team every week. The run game hasn't been consistent. I mean, it's never really been consistent, but, it goes from okay to really bad sometimes. Same with Stafford's play. You can probably characterize it the same way. The pass rush has been, I think, better. Ziggy Ansah being healthy, unlike last year, has been certainly helpful. Darius Slay is one of the most underrated cornerbacks out there. I don't know where I want to go with this one. This one's tight. I've always kind of been a fan of Detroit because I like the talent and potential, but I'll be different. I'll pick New Orleans, being at home.
All right.
You trade Adrian Peterson, so you don't have to worry about that presence kind of bogging down the offense.
That's a good point.
I think they found what they have in Alvin Kamara, who's playing really well. You get a nice timeshare with him and Mark Ingram. So, I'm going to go New Orleans at home.
So our next game, new game now, is the New England Patriots on the road against the New York Jets, which all of a sudden, Alex, becomes a big game in the AFC East. Both teams 3-2, tied for first place. But I look at this game, Alex, and I got a feeling New England's going to come out there and just roll this weekend. Just be ready to take the division back under their control. And what better way to do it against the Jets on the road? And I think New England actually might win this pretty handedly.
Well, it's never a bad idea when it's New England. Whenever it's Patriots Jets, not credit to the Jets. But yeah, I'm going to go New England as well. Even with Brady, if he's got an issue with his shoulder, whatever's going on there, I just can't even imagine how the Patriots lose. Maybe that's a bias, and it's not looking at what's happening. But still, give me New England.
Yeah, until it happens, you can't fathom it happening right now. As long as they have number 12, I'm totally with you there. Next game, new game. The Washington Redskins off a bye week, trying to keep pace with the Eagles. Game and a half back in the NFC East right now, hosting the 0-5 San Francisco 49ers. Alex, who they're putting themselves in places to win, but just can't finish. 2 straight overtime losses in these last 2 weeks. Do they find a way to get a win in Washington, or the Redskins take care of business?
No, Washington will keep on going. You know, San Francisco having to come out to Washington for this one. The run game, they're kind of going by committee now in San Francisco. Carlos Hyde's been less productive. He's been injured with a hip injury. See Matt Breida get some work and actually be kind of productive. They like Breida a lot. Another UDFA guy that came in as the third string. Beat out Joe Williams for the job. Williams went to IR. But yeah, you know, it's just there's not enough of a presence in the passing game. The defense, I think, has probably been a little better, but only if because they couldn't be any worse than the historically bad defense the 49ers had last year. You know, Washington, I'm a big fan of Chris Thompson. He provides a splash. You have some weapons to throw to. Obviously, you have Kirk Cousins at quarterback. The pass rush is super underrated. Preston Smith, Ryan Kerrigan, guys like that. The run defense, I think, is bolstered by guys like Ziggy Hood, Matt Ioannidis. He's been a good find out of Temple. So you throw everything together, obviously, and I'm picking Washington.
Yeah, I like Washington too, Alex, and for all those reasons you mentioned, I think they're a much better football team than what I thought and gave them credit for, and I think what a lot of people gave them credit for, based on what you said on both sides of the ball. And I think they're definitely going to be battling for the division with the Eagles this year, and obviously I don't think you can count out Dallas just yet either. So this is definitely a team I got my eye on. They got the Eagles in 2 weeks on Monday Night Football in Philly, so that's going to be a big one. But first, I think they take care of business against San Francisco. Next game, new game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road against the Arizona Cardinals, who now, as you mentioned, Alex, now have Adrian Peterson. Does that make a difference, or do the Bucs take care of business on the road?
No, I don't think AP is going to make a difference, considering what AP's done.
Which is 0.
2 seasons. Yeah, I was really impressed with the Buccaneers and Jameis Winston. You know, obviously, he ended on a bad note. I didn't like the call and the decision really from Winston on the last play of the game. I don't know your thoughts on that, Matt, if you watched it. But I've just been impressed by this Bay team overall. They have a good pass rush. They have Doug Martin back, and he became basically the lead dog immediately last week. And they were able to keep the score down against the Patriots. They got to Tom Brady. They got a lot of pressure. The Cardinals' offensive line is honestly probably one of the worst in the NFL. And you couple that with the statue that is Carson Palmer, that does not have really the weapons, you know, now that they started the season with. I think Marcus Golden's out for the year, I'm pretty sure, or hasn't. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But anyway, so I know Tampa Bay's coming out to the West Coast, but I just like the team a whole lot better, so I'll take Tampa Bay.
Oh, yeah, I do. The Cardinals' offensive line, after seeing them last week, and I know they were missing a couple of guys, but they stink. I think, you know, Carson Palmer's a stiff. He's obviously getting up there, 37 years of age. I guess I could try and understand the move from Arizona's perspective of bringing in AP to try and get a spark, because obviously Chris Johnson's done 0 since he's come back in. They really only have Andre Ellington for any sort of running game, but all they do is check down. You saw that last week, and especially as soon as they get back on 3rd and long, they'll just check down and punt the ball. I mean, that just shows you how bad this Cardinals offense is right now. So, but as far as Tampa Bay goes, I think they're a much better team. I think they take care of business on the road too. Next game, new game, interesting game. Defensive struggle, I think this will be, Alex. The LA Rams coming off the loss against Seattle on the road against those pesky Jacksonville Jaguars. Alex, you saw them firsthand dominate the Steelers last week. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, Jacksonville's a good team when they can play their game. When keep the game close for the first 3 quarters and God forbid they get a lead, they're going to sit on the football, and the pass rush is going to go to work. This one's probably one of the toughest of the week for me to pick, Matt. I don't know if you feel the same way, because I think a lot of people are realizing the talent that the Rams have. And to see Jared Goff bounce back in his second year, led by Sean McVay, it's been really exciting out there, which that franchise really needed after making the move, after being just a boring, sad team under Jeff Fisher. They're one of the more exciting teams in the NFL now.
Definitely.
They've got gadget guys like Tavon Austin who utilize them correctly. They have guys like Everett and Higbee at tight end that are exciting. They've got Sammy Watkins. They drafted Cooper Kupp. Todd Gurley obviously has bounced back. Aaron Donald's back after that 1 week holdout. All of that said, that one's tough. I just, if Jacksonville ever falls behind, they're kind of screwed. If they get a lead, then they're in a good place. So it's just a question of if you think Rams team can come off to a fast start like that. I'm going to pick the Rams only because they don't have a definite, true, go-to receiver the way that most teams do. So it's not like they're really lock any of their guys down. They're going to scheme it open pretty well, I think. So this one's tough. I can certainly understand if you took Jacksonville, Matt, but I'll go with the Rams.
Actually, I don't find this game as much of a predicament as you do, Alex, just because I am starting to buy into Jacksonville a little bit because I love the defense and I'm fully bought into them, but I don't believe in this offense yet, and I'm pretty far from it only because, and this shows you how bad the Steelers were last week, is they only ran one play in the third quarter, and I get they had 2 pick sixes, and I think they only had 14 pass attempts, and that's pretty rare in the NFL to win when you only have that few pass attempts. So I still think, even though I like Leonard Fournette, I still think this Jacksonville offense has a ways to go, and somebody's going to have to make a play late. And I love the playmakers that are developing on that Rams team, and I think it's all to do with the reemergence of Todd Gurley and the vast improvement, I should say, of Jared Goff, and that is a total credit to Sean McVay, who I think is a Coach of the Year candidate at this point of the season. We're almost halfway through already. So for that reason, I like the Rams to make a play late offensively, get on the road, and get the win in Jacksonville. So I will agree with you there. Next game, new game, AFC West matchup. The Chargers, fresh off their first win, and it was an ugly game in New York last week at MetLife Stadium, taking on the Oakland Raiders. We'll see if Derek Carr plays. Still kind of up in the air about that. If not, we'll see E.J. Manuel again at quarterback. Either way, Alex, I like the Raiders in this one just because I think the defense will make a play on a Chargers offense that's just anemic.
Yeah, I'm with you. Even if Manuel starts, so I'm pretty sure Carr's probably going to go. He was kind of close last week, and the injury wasn't nearly as bad as it originally was feared. The run game was a little better with Marshawn Lynch. They got to find a way to get Cooper more involved in his offense. I don't know how Cooper's struggling so much, but he is.
I don't either. I'm with you there.
But still beyond that, the Chargers, even they get into a close game, they struggle to find ways to win. I know they kind of squeaked one out, I think, last week with a late touchdown, but still, give me Oakland.
And I'll take Oakland as well. Next game, new game, Sunday Night Football, and I think this really potentially out when you looked at this in April was going to be a really epic game, but now this is just going to be a stinker. Giants at the Broncos in Denver, and with all the injuries the Giants suffered last week, ODB done for the year, Brandon Marshall done for the year, Dwayne Harris done for the year. This is awful. This is really awful for the Giants, and I don't see any way how they win this football game. I literally think they could get shut out.
Worst team in the league? Is that the Giants? What do you think?
I still go Cleveland, but I think the Giants are a very strong candidate for the second worst. Yes.
I think they're the worst just because they have some talent. I mean, the Browns, at least you can understand. So maybe that's the wrong way to do it, but I guess I'll grade on the curve a little bit and say the Giants are the worst. Post-injury, we knew that Odell Beckham Jr. was going to be lost basically the second he went down. What we didn't expect was Brandon Marshall to be lost for the season as well. Granted, Marshall really hadn't had a huge impact, but still, he was a guy out there.
Exactly.
You got Sterling Shepard, Dwayne Harris is lost for the year. It's just
Sterling Shepard's week to week now at this point with an ankle injury too.
Right. You have no left tackle. Your quarterbacks awful. Your run defense, which is a really surprising thing to me. The run defense has been underwhelming. Right. They had a lot of beef up front with Snacks.
It's the second worst now. Last week was the battle of the two worst run defenses, and the Giants were second worst.
Yeah, so that really surprises me that they're that bad in the run game as well, the run defense. So, short answer, Baltimore is going to win big.
Yeah, I will take the Denver Broncos as well. And finally, Alex, Monday Night Football this week. Indianapolis Colts on the road taking on the Tennessee Titans. We'll see if Mariota comes back this week for them as well. But again, I think either way, I think Tennessee wins this regardless. Just being at home, that was a tough loss they took last week in Miami. I think defensively they'll make a play, or if not, I think they'll be able to get the run game going regardless of whoever's a quarterback against that Colts defense. I think it'll still be a close game regardless of whatever the situation is, but I just still think Tennessee's the better football team, and I think they'll find a way to get things going eventually once Mariota is able to get himself back under his feet a little bit here.
Yeah, no, I agree, Matt. I'm going to take Tennessee in this one. I give Jacoby Brissett credit. He's been a stabilizing force in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I agree there.
And hopefully for no more than 1 week, and hopefully Luck can come back for the next game. But Tennessee's got to. I think they got to get Derrick Henry the football more. I'm not sure what's going on the last couple weeks for him. They kind of scrapped the timeshare. They have some weapons to throw to. So I'm basing a large part of this on assuming Mariota's going to be back. But that's still, I guess, speculation at this point in the week. I'll still take Tennessee to win and hope.
All right, so I think we only split on 2 games. How about that?
Yeah, it's a pretty chalk week though.
It is, yeah. There's not a lot of great matchups this week. Minus maybe the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
So there we go. First official show in the books, Alex, with our new format here. Hopefully we'll get everybody back next week. So make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter now is at NGNG_NFL. So NGNG_NFL. And you can also find us on YouTube. For now, I think it's still a Football Friday. I don't know if Ian switched that yet, but it will eventually be at Next Game, New Game, and that's where you can find us, all of the latest show archives, things like that, as well as on Twitter. And we're still taking your NFL questions too. Anything NFL related, Eagles, Steelers, whatever, you send that to us. We'll do that as well. And we'll still take fantasy questions. I don't know if we'll have Mike on as often as we had originally planned with the new format we're doing, but we'll hopefully still try to bring him on from time to time, and we'll still try to the best of our ability, I'll say, answer fantasy questions. So that will do it for this week's show. Alex, good to have you back on here. We'll talk next week.
All right, man. Sounds good.
And thanks so much for listening to the Next Game, New Game podcast. Enjoy this week's NFL action.